Hey guys, it's Dan Green here today, and I just thought I'd share another video with you. Actually, I'm changing the video that I had planned to do today. I've been putting together videos. My previous videos have been about putting a optic on my Glock 48 MOS, and then I did a tabletop compare of a Glock 48 MOS with the 26 and the 42 and the 43. And talked about those guns a little bit. And so most of everything I've been doing has been geared toward concealed carry in one way or another. And I was going to do some concealed carry, another concealed carry video about, some of the equipment I use and what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me and things of that nature. And then I thought, wait a minute, I think I'm doing this wrong. The first question I think a person needs to answer, because I'm guessing a lot of people who would be searching for videos like this are doing it with concealed carry in mind. If you're looking at the Glocks that I've done a tabletop video on and the Glock I did the MOS installation on, those are generally guns purchased by people for concealed carry. So probably the people watching these videos have been watching them with a concealed carry viewpoint in mind. And I have been concealed carrying for 28 plus years and have gained some knowledge over that time. I was in federal law enforcement for all that time actually. And I've gotten some training and some experience and things of that nature that I thought, now that I'm retired, I have some time to share that. But I will also share with you that the reason I think I was doing it wrong before, as far as the order of things, is that I have quite a few friends who conceal carry that I'm not sure all of them should. And I'll explain that. But I think that there are three basic questions that a responsible person should answer before they actually make a decision to conceal carry. And I don't think everyone answers these questions and before they conceal carry, and it makes me nervous. It makes me concerned, honestly, for what might happen. So these are the three questions that I think must be answered definitely by a responsible person before they make the decision about whether to conceal carry or not. And the first, and this is really obvious, but is it legal? And the answer to that is going to depend greatly upon where you live. I live in Florida right now, and I'm very familiar with the concealed carry laws in Florida. I'm not so familiar with them around the rest of the country. I know some states are pretty restrictive and others are not. Florida has reciprocity with a number of states, and I have a list of that, so I know when I travel, if I'm in a state that Florida has reciprocity means that if you're licensed to conceal carry in Florida, then the other states accept that as well. Now with me, it's a little different, honestly. Being a retired federal law enforcement officer, I can legally carry through a program through a law that was passed in any state, but that's not the case for most people, and I understand that. And I also actually have a concealed carry permit. I decided to get one several years ago. There was some just advantages, even as a law enforcement officer. In Florida, you have a waiting period when you buy a firearm. Even the law enforcement officers have that waiting period, but if you have a concealed carry permit, you don't. So just with that permit, I could go in and purchase a handgun and take it home immediately. So anyway, for a variety of reasons, I obtained a concealed carry permit. But if you're not a retired law enforcement officer in Florida, the only way to carry a weapon concealed is with a permit. Now in Florida, the process of getting a permit is extremely easy. You take a fairly short class, and which even though I didn't have to take, I just chose to take it anyway, just because I wanted to see what it was like. And I took it with my wife because she needed to take it for her concealed carry permit. And honestly, I didn't think the class was worth very much. But you get a certificate as a result of that then you can take and submit to the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, who issues the concealed carry permits in Florida. And they do a background check on you, and a few weeks later or a few months later, depending on how backed up they are, you get your concealed carry permit. I don't think anybody should believe that that class prepares them to conceal carry safely at all. You get very little instruction, almost none, to be quite honest with you. I was not impressed. Some states don't even require that. Now there's also open carry. In Florida, it's illegal to open carry unless you're hunting or fishing or on the way to hunt or fish, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's the way the law is here. So if you're out hunting, you can open carry, of course, I mean, because you're carrying around a rifle or a shotgun to hunt, but it also applies if you're fishing. I guess you could stand on the edge of a river with an AR-15 and open carry or a pistol on your, exposed on your belt, and that's legal. And what's a little bit weird to me is on the way to or from hunting or fishing, you can open carry with it. So I'm not sure I would want to litigate that, but that's the way the law is written. But wherever you live, you need to be familiar with the laws in your state and comply with them. In Florida, you don't need a concealed carry permit to have a firearm in your car. So you can transport a firearm in your car. You can have it in your glove box, whatever. You can have it sitting on the seat beside you, I suppose. But you don't have to have a permit for that. But when you get out of the car, if you're wearing the firearm, and you can't wear it unconcealed unless you're hunting or fishing. You can't wear it concealed unless you have a permit. So that's the law for Florida. So of course, I know that's a very basic first question to ask, and hopefully all of you would ask that, but just felt like I need to put that out there. What's the second question? The second question is, how proficient are you with your firearm? And this is where I think a lot of my friends get into some issues, because I have a lot of friends that purchased a weapon, got a concealed carry permit. They've been to the range once or twice. That's about it. They don't go regularly. They don't do any real training. They never had any real training. They're safe, I guess, with their pistol as far as knowing how to load it and unload it and, how to shoot it. But how good they are with their shooting, I'm not so certain they're all that good. I know for me, it took a fair amount of training. Maybe I'm just slower at it than others, but I had to put quite a few rounds down range before I felt like I was all that proficient at shooting. And it's not just the shooting, it's the handling of the weapon as well. The drawing from your holster or wherever you carry your pistol. It's just the general handling of it. I see a lot of people, I go to a range and it looks like they're just shooting. And I think that's what most people, at least they're at the range, right? So, but I would say that if you go to a range, and I know that this was true for me, I didn't start getting a lot better at shooting until I started going with a plan. You need to go to the range with a plan, not just a few boxes of ammo and some targets and think, well, I'm going to just put these targets out and just shoot them. Yeah, that's beneficial, but it's really not the best way to train. What you need to do is have a plan on what you're going to work on today. What distances you're going to shoot, what kind of targets you're going to shoot, what you're going to focus on. You're going to focus on your trigger pull, your sight alignment, your grip. Those are things that are important, that affect your accuracy tremendously. Maybe you're past that and you feel like you've got that down. Now you're going to work on your speed. You're going to work on follow-up shots. You're going to work on, do you want to work on close range accuracy? I've got some targets that have little 1-inch circles, and I don't put those very far away, but my goal is to put one bullet in each 1-inch circle. Or you want to shoot at 25 yards and work on your distance. But you shouldn't just go to the range and just say, I'm going to shoot some ammo down range. You need to have a plan, and you need to keep track of how you're doing so you can know that you're progressing and that you're getting better. And that's when you see your gains. And the reason I'm stressing this so much is because in the heat of the battle, you're going to need all that to be natural to you. And Your muscle memory becomes very important, and you're responsible for every round that goes down, that comes out of your pistol. So you better hit what you're shooting at. You better be aware of what's around what you're shooting at. And, you know, so proficiency is extremely, extremely important. And train. I will say this, that there's a lot of training. If you say, well, ammo's expensive, I can't afford to go to the range a lot. I don't have a place. I don't have a place alone. I don't live out in the country. I don't have a place where I can shoot outside myself. So, I just can't afford to shoot that often. Well, that's a consideration, and I understand that. But there are a lot of things you can do training-wise that will improve your proficiency tremendously without shooting. You can dry fire. And dry fire is, I think, tremendously underrated by most people. But depending on what kind of gun you have, most guns are okay with dry firing. It doesn't harm them, but there are some that don't need to be, the hammer doesn't need to fall on an empty chamber. And if you have one of those, there's stuff called snap caps that you can buy. They're just plastic bullets, and you put them in, and then that takes care of that. And it also, you can use those for reload drills, because you need to practice reload drills, and a lot of ranges won't let you do that anyway. And so you can make sure you're not using real ammo, be very safe, but either with an unloaded weapon or with snap caps, whatever, you can practice reloading, you can practice dry firing, and I mean drawing the weapon, bringing it up, getting your sight alignment, pulling your trigger, watching to see that your sights don't move, and you're not jerking the pistol about. That doesn't cost anything, and that should be done very regularly for even experienced shooters. So how proficient are you, and how much are you willing to work at getting proficient and staying proficient? And if the answer is, I'm not proficient and I'm not willing to work at it, then you shouldn't carry, okay, just bluntly, because you're just as likely to hurt yourself or someone else as you are to save your own skin or someone else's. And that's just the truth. So, I'm not saying everybody has to be a sniper marksman, but you need to be able to hit what you're shooting at, what you're aiming at. You need to be able to handle your gun in a stressful situation safely. You need to have practiced. It needs to be natural to you, and that you only get that way from training. I would even suggest that most people pay for some training. There's lots of training that you can get, and I would suggest that that's not a bad idea, is to pay someone. I guess you have to be careful about who you're hiring, because not everybody knows what they're doing. But if you could, get some recommendations in your local area, talk to people at the gun stores, talk to people at gun ranges, and get some recommendations for some good training that you could find. And the third question, and that is, how mentally prepared are you? Because see, you can be legal to carry your weapon. You can even be proficient at carrying your weapon, but you may not be mentally prepared to carry your weapon. Many years ago, I was in a training with a Secret Service agent who had previously been a Maryland state trooper. And as part of the training we were doing, we were shooting a 300-point course. And I was having a real hard time shooting over 285 on it. It was, difficult for me to score higher than 285. He was consistently shooting 300 out of 300. I approached him, I said, man, I wish I could shoot as good as you do. You're just pretty amazing at that. And he kind of laughed and he said, well, that doesn't mean anything when you're in the heat of the battle. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I actually had to shoot at someone once and I missed them. And he told me a story about where he had given someone a DUI, and it had cost them something very important to them. They had had an opportunity actually to be in the Olympics, and it had cost them the opportunity to be in the Olympics because they had gotten a DUI. So they found out where he lived, And they waited outside of his house one morning for him to come to work. And when he walked out the door, they ambushed him. They were hiding in his shrubs right by his front door. And when he came out, they stood up and they shot him. He didn't even know he'd been shot. They shot him with a .22, and he's wearing a bulletproof vest. But they don't have bulletproof material right here, and it went into his rib cage there. But with the adrenaline going from seeing the guy stand up and point the pistol at him, he didn't even realize he'd been shot. But he drew his weapon and shot at the guy. The guy dropped the gun and took off running. And I forget how many times my buddy shot at him, but he didn't hit him once. Okay. Guy who shot 300 out of 300 on a course consistently, and he missed this guy from a fairly close range initially. The adrenaline dumps, everything gets crazy, and he just missed him. Fast forward years later, and 3 of my good friends are in a situation where they're looking for a fugitive. They have an arrest warrant for him. They have a lead on where he might be. They show up, and they're with 2 local deputies, and they're talking about where this person was seen and where they believe he is. And he, unbeknownst to them, saw them. He was in a trailer, and he saw them. And he opened the door to the trailer with an AR in his hand, with a rifle in his hands. And my buddies immediately saw that, and they rushed the trailer, fanned out, rushed the trailer, and engaged him in shots. Well, my 3 friends, 2 of whom were firearms instructors, one of them never fired a round. One of them fired numerous rounds and didn't hit him. And the 3rd guy shot 2 shots and hit him both times, okay? And ended the situation. When I was talking to him later, and we were talking about, the different results of the different people, I asked him why he thought he was able to shoot the person and the others were not. And he said that his brother had been a police officer, had been shot in the line of duty, had survived, and his brother had told him to mentally prepare yourself in advance for the possibility of being in a situation where shots are fired, and to make the decision in advance that you were going to remain calm, that you're not going to speed up, that you're going to go as smooth and as fast as you can without rushing it, and take your time and make your shots accurate. And that's what he did. Now, that didn't mean he took a long time to shoot. He did not. He shot quickly because his training allowed him to do it quickly. But he didn't speed up. He didn't rush himself. He did what he was used to doing in training, and he didn't deviate from that because he had decided in advance that when he was in that kind of situation, that that's what he was going to do, and it worked. It worked for him. You don't know how you're going to react. No one knows in advance. But if you don't mentally prepare, your chances of not doing it well are greatly increased. So I recommend, if you're going to make the decision to carry a firearm, that you mentally prepare in advance. You think about the situations that could happen, and I recommend that you tell yourself, I'm going to remain calm. I'm going to not panic. I'm going to do what I've always trained to do, training key. And I think your chances of coming through that successfully are much greater. So those are the 3 questions. Is it legal? You don't need to break the law. Number 2, am I proficient If you're not proficient, you need to get proficient. Purchase a weapon and get proficient. And number 3, am I mentally prepared for this? Can I handle the situation? And again, I understand you can't know 100% how you're going to handle it. But if you don't think about that in advance, you're setting yourself up for failure. Even people who are well trained and are very proficient don't always handle it successfully. But you've got to put in the time, the thought, positive mental training on this. Tell yourself, I'm going to survive, and I'm going to survive by remaining calm and relying on the training that I have confidence in. And that's how you survive that. So, can you answer those 3 questions positively? Yes, it's legal. Yes, I'm proficient. And yes, I'm mentally prepared. Then I think you should carry a firearm. If you can't answer those questions positively, then I think you should not. Because the thing you don't want to do is make a situation worse. You don't want to shoot innocent bystanders. You don't want to shoot the people that you're trying to protect. You don't want to shoot yourself. You know, and there's people out there that, I mean, we require to drive a car that you show some proficiency in driving the car first. Most states don't require that. Most states that allow carry don't require that to carry. I'm not getting into, you know, your civil rights and your Second Amendment constitutional rights. I'm not going to debate that with you. I'm just saying, if you're a responsible person, then you need to make sure that you can be responsible and safe and help situations instead of hurt them. That's what I'm saying. So that's enough. That's enough for today. If you like the video, please click on like, click on subscribe. If you have any suggestions for things you'd like to see, put them in the comments. Have any questions, be happy to answer them the best I can. Put those in the comments. But I appreciate your time and your attention. Have a wonderful day.